Hey guys, Lindsay here. Do you need a sweet for your sweetie? Well, I have a Valentine's Day treat for you. These are chocolate cupcakes with milk frosting. This deep chocolatey recipe works a little different than a traditional cupcake recipe. So I'm starting with 1 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. To that I'm adding 3/4 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt, and 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. Give this a quick whisk to combine. You'll notice it's not a lot of flour because there's a lot of chocolatey flavor in this one. I can set that aside. Now moving on to some of my wet ingredients and the chocolate. So I'm putting 2/3 cup of granulated sugar, 1/3 cup of Dutch processed cocoa powder. Now this is different than natural cocoa powder, which is a little bit lighter in color. This is less acidic, so it will have an effect on your baked goods. So if a recipe calls for Dutch process, you should definitely try to find it. This is a little bit darker and richer than natural cocoa. And 1/2 cup of pure cherry juice or pomegranate juice. This is not sweetened. It's a little bit acidic, and so it helps to tenderize the cupcakes, and it also adds to that deep, intense chocolatey flavor that we're looking for. So I'll give this a little whisk. I'm just trying to saturate the cocoa powder here. Oh, it smells so good. Now I'm adding 2 ounces of chopped semi-sweet chocolate. You don't really want to use chocolate chips for this because they don't really melt as well. They tend to have a coating on them, and so I like to use good quality chocolate bars that you chop yourself. Chop this pretty fine so that it melts easily. I like to use a serrated knife for this. It makes it really easy. I also like to use a plastic cutting board because chocolate can be kind of a pain to wash off. All right, that looks pretty good. Now I will add this to my sugar mixture. All right, so now I'm ready for my butter. This is 1 stick and 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. I'm going to put it in a saucepan and get this heated. And I'm browning the butter, so this is also adding another layer of flavor. Brown butter is really nutty, and it really adds to, again, the depth and richness of these cupcakes. To brown butter, you heat it over medium heat until the butter is completely melted. So you can hear it right now. This is starting to bubble, it's sizzling, it's cooking the milk solids in the butter. The water is evaporating. So when it gets to this stage, you just want to swirl it around occasionally and keep checking for bits of brown butter to appear on the bottom of the pan. You can really hear it popping now. I'm really starting to smell the nuttiness. It almost smells like buttered popcorn right now, but we're not quite there. You've got to be patient with this. The reward is worth the wait. Right, I can hear that it's quieting down, which is a sign that the solids are toasting on the bottom of the pan. It smells so good. I'm seeing some golden brown down in there. Now I'm going to pour this into my sugar mixture. This hot butter will melt all of that chopped chocolate. Make sure you scrape out all of those brown bits at the bottom. That's all that flavor that you just created. Now let that sit for just a minute to melt the chocolate. Now start stirring it together to dissolve the sugar, melt the chocolate. This is also a little different than the creaming method because this makes a really dense cupcake. The melted butter doesn't aerate the cupcake the way creamed butter does, so it makes it almost a brownie texture. It's getting nice and smooth. All right, now that I've cooled this down a little bit by stirring, I can add my eggs. So 2 eggs, which are room temperature. Just mix those right in. It's a good, vigorous mix to combine. It looks almost exactly like brownie batter. And now I'm just adding my flour, leavening, and salt, and fold to combine. I've preheated my oven to 325 degrees. All right, it's okay if there's a few lumps in here. You don't want to overmix. That's looking pretty good. So now I have a standard 12-cup muffin cupcake tin, and I'm going to be dividing the batter among these tins. It's about 1/4 cup, or 1/3 of the way full. Last one. And some lucky kid or friend might get this bowl to take a lick. That was always my favorite part as a kid. But these cupcakes are ready to go in the oven. It's at 325 for about 22 to 24 minutes. While my cupcakes are cooling, I'm gonna make the vanilla bean frosting. To do that, I'm starting with a cup of whole milk. Start getting this heating medium-high, and add a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. I'm going to whisk this in, get rid of any lumps. Right. And then a pinch of salt, of course, always a little salt with our sweet. And then a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And this frosting is double vanilla, vanilla extract, and vanilla bean, because your loved ones are worth it, right? You can give them a little extra vanilla action in this frosting. So now I'm just heating this until it starts to thicken like pudding. That'll take about 3 to 4 minutes. And what I really love about this frosting is that because you heat the milk, it releases some of the sugars in the milk, and you don't need to use as much granulated sugar in your frosting. And it has a really great texture. It tastes delicious with the chocolate cupcakes. And I think chocolate and vanilla is a match made in heaven. As you can see, this is thickening up. And I think that's about good. It looks like pudding to me. Go ahead and remove it from the heat. Pour this into a heat-proof bowl. You can strain it out if you want, but it shouldn't be too much of a problem unless you really scorched your milk in there. And now I'm going to cover this with plastic wrap, putting the plastic directly on the surface so it doesn't get too much of a skin. I will let this cool completely to room temperature, about 30 minutes. So now this is cooled completely to room temperature. I'm ready to finish my buttercream. So you'll see it's thickened up quite a bit while it was cooling off, and that's okay. It'll all get loosened up in the buttercream. So I'm adding this mixture to a bowl that has 2 sticks of softened unsalted butter. Especially with buttercream, you really want to make sure this is room temperature. If you forget to leave your butter out, you can always microwave it in 5-second increments until it's just softened but not melted. You want to make sure you have really smooth, creamy buttercream. Just going to loosen this up a little bit with that cooked milk mixture. Just breaking up some of those clumps. And now I'm adding a cup of granulated sugar. And I'm going to split 1 vanilla bean and add the seeds from the vanilla bean. All right, make sure you get all of those precious beans in there, or precious seeds, I should say. So now I'm going to mix all of this together on medium-high for about 4 minutes until it's really light and fluffy. Buttercream is looking luscious and fluffy. Cannot wait to eat these. Scrape off that buttercream. All right, that's pretty good. Now you could definitely frost these with a spatula or a butter knife or something if you just want to frost all of them. I am going to use a piping bag to make it feel a little bit more festive. And with this milk frosting, you do want to use it right away because it kind of sets up. It almost gets a little bit of a skin on it once you use it. So if you make your cupcakes ahead, just make sure you don't make the buttercream until you're ready to frost. So this piping bag is fit with about a 1/2 inch tip. Take it down into the piping bag, try to get out the air bubbles. Now I'm just going to go around the cupcake, pile it on, move towards the middle. This part's really fun, so you could always invite some friends over, decorate together. Right, so I do that with half of them. And with the other half, I'm going to use this little 1.5 inch cookie cutter to cut out hearts from the top of the cupcake. So press it in about 1 inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch, and pull it out and you'll have this little piece of cake, and then you just push it on top of your other frosted cake like that. So I would put them in the fridge for about 2 hours after they've cooled or up to overnight. And then they're really easy to get nice, beautiful, clean hearts. I think these are so sweet. Tell someone you love them, make them a cupcake. Hopefully by then they've broken all their New Year's resolutions so they won't get mad at you for making them something with sugar. How cute is that? And now with these other 6, you can take your buttercream and you just pipe a little heart like that. So you press in and pull out, press in, pull out. How cute is this one? So you have this cupcake for your frosting lover and this cupcake for your cake lover. I know everyone has some of both in their life, so it helps to have variety, that way everyone's happy. So there you have it, a nice sweet for your sweetie. These are chocolate cupcakes with milk frosting.